thank you all for taking some time to connect with us today. I'll go ahead and get ready to get started. We will be recording this as well, just to let you all know. We have some very special guests that I'll be doing a quick introduction for here momentarily. But as I mentioned, my name is Marcus Jenkins here on behalf of After School HQ. Excited to learn and build with you all today. For those who are not familiar with After School HQ, just give me some quick insight. We are a CRM company based out of Indiana, which helps specialize in helping be able to engage students and parents, provide a centralized tool for you and your team, and making it easy to report on your data at the end of the day, right? So I'll give you all some quick insight for those who are not familiar with us. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you real quickly so we can dive into what solution that we have in play to make you all's life a little bit easier as well, okay? So first thing I want to highlight, everything within our solution is web-based. So we actually provide you a landing page for your organization that you can embed within your website that has a breakdown of all the different engagements and activities that your organization conducts. And again, this may vary based on the different organizations, but even outside of the activities, we can also help you when it comes to tracking volunteers and accepting donations on your behalf as well too. So within the activities, say I'm a parent looking to sign up my kids for this cooking club, I would get a description of what it entails, the age gap, the days of the week, as well as if there's a cost and a point of contact to be able to register. Now, within that registration form, we can help you customize your intake form to be able to track different levels of pieces of data to be able to track on. And on the back end, we're then able to generate an infographic to speak directly to that data as well. Our goal is to help you be more applicable for grant funding. So now being able to talk about the hours of education, students registered, registrations by day, by grade, by gender, zip code, race, ethnicity, even a heat map, which is one of the most powerful tools that I really love about our solution. I've leveraged this personally to go speak in front of city council to be able to display that, hey, we service 17 youth in 46203, which is high crime, low income, and we're helping to offset that by all of our amazing different engagements in the form of STEM, athletics, and so much more. Outside of that, we're also then able to identify the different registrants per activity to be able to identify which ones are trending up opposed to which ones are trending down to give you a high level overview of your organization. So just one of many things that we're able to do. But again, we are excited to connect with you, see how we can be a resource and put some phenomenal guests in front of you today. So I do have some pretty cool friends with me today. So I'll do a quick introduction and with Dr. Blanks. So Dr. Blanks is actually an internationally known psychologist. I'm a graduate of Columbia and Cambridge University. She has created a broad set of innovative language and reading programs that have trained thousands of professionals over 6 decades. So there's a lot of knowledge and insight that we will hear from today. Now, she's also joined by Brenda and Sarah. Now, Brenda Hartman is an educator with over 32 years of experience. You hear all these years of experience that you will get to, to tap into today. And she serves as a curriculum and program director at DMLL. Sarah is an educator with more than 13 years of experience in the field and serves as the manager of educational partnerships. And they both are committed to providing all children with access to innovative and effective programs that can help transform their life. So without further ado, I will go ahead and kick it over to Dr. Marion Blanks and her team.
So today's topic is going to be easy and engaging activities to maximize students out of school time. And I am going to pass it over to you, Dr. Marion Blake.
Okay. I have a bad cough, so if I stop for a minute, please excuse me. We're starting with an idea that has been around for a long time, which is the importance of after-school programs on many dimensions. And this is just a nice quote from that makes the point. Research makes clear that young people benefit tremendously from participating in out-of-school time programs. Now, the picture there is actually not designed to go with the text, because what people have been finding is that because the kids live in a world of devices now, they have lost or are losing many skills. And so the world of devices has made after school programs even more critical than they were before. It offers them opportunities to just learn what they have been missing. In this case, this particular slide, it came from yesterday's London Guardian. It's about how children are losing their fine motor coordination, which is a huge problem. So we really have very ambitious goals to make the kids enjoy things and to actually learn some very practical things. Okay, next slide, please. And the benefits that we'll be covering today are a whole range. You can add to them. You can focus on some of them. It allows, and I'll just mention a couple: teamwork. It allows friendships. It allows role playing, which is a hugely attractive and important skill. It allows, it can encourage attention span. It can encourage spatial awareness. And whichever way, and each program can sort of get a focus as to which area they want to focus on. But the after school programs they're free from a lot of the constraints of regular education. And so they can explore dimensions that are really attractive and missing in the children's lives. So let's go to the next one, and Brenda and Sarah will take over.
Yes. So we are starting off today with a favorite of mine and so many others, board games. Board games have so many benefits, including cognitive skills, social interaction, which is really important these days, stress reduction, and patience. And you find this with taking turns while you played the games. This is conveyed in this quote here: board games have become my brain's version of a gym, exercising strategic thinking, creativity, and teamwork instead of physical strength. They're a safe space to fail, experiment, and learn without real world consequences. So you could see the importance of this for young children. When choosing a board game, choose a board game that fits your student's age and ability level. A really popular one with different variations is Sequence. They have two levels. We have one for our younger non-readers, and you can find it with pictures. And then you have a version for your older students who are readers, the regular Sequence. But the main version in both is to complete a sequence 5 trips in a row, but you're thinking ahead the whole time of how you're going to block your opponent's attempts to finish their own sequence. So very fun, very exciting way to play. Um, I know my favorite as a child, especially in after school programs and during school, and even as an adult, were Monopoly, chess, checkers, the list goes on. What about you, Brenda? What's your favorite?
Actually, one of my favorite is Sequence. And literally just 2 nights ago, my 27-year-old daughter and I were playing Sequence, and I did lose.
Ah, I love it. And then Dr. Blank, what's your favorite?
Actually, my favorite is a frustration. I wish I could have learned to play chess, and I don't have the patience now to do it, but I would have loved doing that.
Great one, right? The great thing about this is all of these are available at Walmart, Amazon, Target, and the cool thing is you pay for it once, you store it for your center, and it's the gift that keeps giving year after year. They never go out of style. As you know, all these games we've mentioned, kids love it for always. All right, Brenda.
I want to just mention one
Oh, yeah.
thing, that one of the great benefits is if you just simply sit back and look, the visual abilities in dealing with a board game are totally different from the constricted visual abilities of devices. And children really need to be using their eyes in a broad span, not simply focused on devices. So games are a great way to help that.
Yes. And as well as board games, another great activity is charades. There's so many benefits to charades, as stated in this quote by Kid Power. It's a really excellent quote. Charades is a fun game for kids that has developmental advantages. They will learn to think outside the box. They will learn to be creative with limited resources and develop their nonverbal communication skills. This game, they also teach how to work together by collaborating with their teammates to guess the answer. And charades is one of those fun games where there's no talking, so any level, whether you are verbal or nonverbal, can play this game. Go ahead, next slide,
Yeah,
Sarah.
even your most shy kid will get really into this game because you don't have to use your words.
Absolutely. You're using skills of facial expressions, body language, eye contact, gestures, and these things are very important. And charades is a favorite of many, and it doesn't matter the age, young, old. As a matter of fact, There were a couple of TV shows of charades, I believe back in the 80s, of celebrity charades and give us a clue. So honestly, charades is for anyone. And one way to play it is one player can silently act out words or phrases. And then as they're acting out, teammates are shouting out and trying to guess what they're trying to act out. There's so many different ways that you can get ideas. The kids can write on their own. Or if they need some guidance, there is a great resource, this website here, Get Charades Ideas. You can have them use their own phrases, their own words, or even get free ones online. Like I said, as this Get Charades Ideas. And here are some of the ideas that it provides. This website is a really good idea to use because what they have is actions, animals, books. It gives the child the idea. And so then everyone's using the same like animals and acting it out. And I would recommend using this website for these ideas for those kids who are having trouble thinking of ideas on their own.
Yeah. And
Having
then the great thing
accountability.
is, yeah, and then once you have the ideas, the cool thing is you don't really need a lot of resources to do charades, right? Like you just write them on a notebook paper, you put them in whatever you got, whether it's a hat, a bowl, your palms.
100%, yes. And to me, using these categories, I believe it's for the younger ones. It is easier to have a category. And they're all doing animals. So whether they act out a cow, pig, whatever they're acting out. And for the older ones, same thing. They can use books that they've read, movies that they've seen. Yeah, it's great. A great site.
Right. Wonderful. The next one we're going to cover we're going to do short plays. There are so many benefits to short plays, including creativity, focus, character development, and expressing oneself. The reason why I personally love short plays is I don't talk about this a lot, but I was an extremely shy kid. So when you hear me talking about shy kids, I'm talking about experience. So think the kid who's silent in your classroom, who doesn't do any, like, doesn't want to share anything. That was me, right? Short plays was so great for me because when I got introduced to it, it helped me break out of my shell a lot. It allowed me to express myself and put performances on in front of others. And I didn't even realize it because I was having fun. And it really kind of led to me being able to speak more to others. And so I really credit that to short plays. And that's why I love this quote so much. The world of pretend play is one in which children can be free to express themselves, their ideas, their emotions, and their fantastic visions of themselves. And I got to say, while we're talking, because we could actually kind of see some of your faces, and the fact that you guys are nodding along and agreeing with us makes me feel like some of you relate. And oh my gosh, that makes us feel so good. You guys are a great audience. So thanks for being there with us. All right. So in short plays, students express their creativity by putting on these plays, and costumes are optional. You can make a day of it. Hey, we're going to do a play on this day. If you have Halloween costumes, if you
Mhm.
have something at home, bring it in or not. You could create stuff. What you could do is, as you could see from that picture right there, they created some stuff of what they had in the we could paper crowns, paper towel rolls, holder, a bunch of things. Or just use the imagination. No costumes needed at all. We had just as much fun without that. You can have students create their own scripts, or providers can find free scripts online. There's many resources, but one that I love that we're going to show some examples of are playscriptsforkids.net. I would say in the beginning, especially to have some of your shyer kids break out of their shells, I would provide the scripts at first, let them get comfortable with it. And then after that, separate them into groups, assign them into groups, and let them create their own scripts and be creative. And it becomes such a fun activity for kids and takes up a lot of time with a lot of benefits. So it's a great one to do. Here are some screenshots from that website I was talking about. As you can see, you can find a ton of free scripts. They're categorized by age. So you'll see top 10 plays for older kids, and then you get some of the background leading up to setting the plays. So how to stage a play with children, choosing a play script for kids. So again, really great resource. Feel free to use this, but there are many others that you can also find as well.
Right. Like short plays, creativity is a great benefit of poetry as well as building vocabulary. It can also help you gain an understanding of others' emotions, as stated in this quote. Reading poetry gives me a sense of calm, well-being, and love for humanity. The same stuff more flexible women get from yoga. And Courtney Sullivan hit the nail on the head there. It is so true. It for some poetry is very calming. And with poetry, I also relate it to others' emotions. It's a little bit like music, songwriters. They're sharing their story, they're sharing, getting their emotion in their songs or in their writing of poetry. Um, the difference is when you're reading and writing poetry, there's no music in it. And so then on the next slide, poetry has a significant place actually in other countries. In other countries, they have to memorize a certain amount of poetries in school because it's considered a way to connect to their literary heritage. And when you're selecting poetry for kids, actually, let me back up. As Sarah had said, when you do these activities, you might want to model it first, show the kids, you do it first, and that'll get their interest even more. But when you do, you want to select interesting and appealing poems that children can read, especially at the lower level. And students can create, actually, then they can create the illustrations that go along with the poems, or take it a step further and they can even write their own poems, get creative and they can write them. Some can rhyme, some don't need to rhyme. As the kids learn these poems, they'll notice the different types of them. There's also a really good book. I'm sure many of you already have heard of Shel Silverstein. He's a very well-known author of one of his books is Where the Sidewalk Ends. And one of my favorite is The New Kids on the Block by Jack Polinsky. I actually really like one of his poems that I used to read the first day of school to my fourth graders. It is called Homework, oh homework, I hate you, you stink. Homework, oh homework, I hate you, you stink. I wish I could wash you away in the sink. If only a bomb would explode you to bits. Homework, oh homework, you're giving me fits. And it does go on. This is just the first part of it, but it is a really good poem and the kids just love it on that first day of school. And this website as well, Poetry for Kids, is a great resource. Again, it models poems for kids. It models how to write poems. And you can even do a little like poetry tea party after the kids write their poems and celebrate them if they want to share them. Especially this is a way for children like Sarah who are very shy to get them out of their shell. Also actually coming up is April is National Poetry Month. So that would be a great time to do it. We used to do a poetry unit in when I taught fourth grade again, and we had so much fun with it. The kids absolutely gets their creativity going, and it's amazing what you can learn from a child through their poetry or through their writing of it.
Just imagine them loving celebrating Poetry Month in your classroom and just in general. If you make it special, like you just said, tea parties, what a celebration. I love that.
Right. Yeah. Anything to make it more exciting and for the kids. You want them to have their ownership and be proud of what they do and celebrate it.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, another thing students love is physical activity and physical exercise. We all know the importance of physical exercise for all of us, but for kids ages 6 through 17, which are our school age children, 60 minutes or more a day of exercise is actually recommended. Now, countries around the world are getting very good at regularly integrating physical activity into their school days. Here in America, most districts, many districts actually do not offer PE time each day. I know ours was twice a week in most of the different districts I worked in. So it's not a regular part of, our daily routine. However, teachers and after school providers have really just taken on this task of just improving this. And they've been incorporating physical activity into their students' days, which is really great. I know I've talked to Dr. Marion about this. I've talked to Brenda about this. In my classroom, every hour, and it sounds excessive, but it's not. For the first 50 minutes, you do your lesson. And then the last 10 minutes, we would do a brain break every hour. And when I say that those 10 minutes made a world of difference, not only did the kids get their activity in, but furthermore, they were more focused, they were paying attention, and they just looked forward to coming to class or the after school group you're working with. Just it's a great way to get kids moving and excited about school. The importance of this is reflected in this quote by Medical News Today. Regular physical activity contributes to a child's physical development and promotes overall well-being. And we
I-
know about all the benefits of physical exercise. Yes.
No, I said, I think I mentioned to you when I was teaching in Israel, what they had uniformly is every hour, the kids would, everything, the kids would just get up and go anywhere and do a physical activity for 10 minutes. And they'd come back. And so they had 5 to 6 periods a day. And it cut down problems like attention deficit disorder and so on enormously. It's a
And if you,
fabulous resource.
and if you do it 10 minutes a day for 5 to 6 times a day, you've gotten your hour of recommended physical activity each day
Exactly.
without fail. And it's wonderful.
And the costs are
Very,
very little. So
very, very
it's got
little.
everything going for it.
Yeah, all the benefits that you could want, right?
Yeah.
Now, some ways to get the kids moving, like very cheap, very free, very easy, are yoga for kids, dancing, Simon Says. And if you have a playground, of course, playground time is the best one. You let them go, they just have so much fun. Um, Yoga is a wonderful one because two things. You don't really need a lot of space. You just need a set little section that no one needs to, touch each other. And it's a good one because let's say if the building needs quiet, there's something going on, another activity in the building, or your kids are just overstimulated and they just want to, chatter, they need to move. This is a great one. Everyone calms down in a quiet space. They relax and they just do some yoga, but they're still moving. CosmicKids.com is a really good one dedicated only to kids yoga. I will show you an example of it in a second. But my go-to was always YouTube. Tons of options, all free. That's where I usually went. Now, dancing is another fun when you have the flexibility to be a little bit louder. Kids can plan their own dance party. And this is great because you just need your laptop or your phone if you're willing to share it. And of course, clean versions of all the songs, which you all know, but the kids will try to, sometimes we have to be like, you can't have your song because there's no clean version. They don't like that, but that's fine. Anyway, so kids can plan their own dance party. They get to be the DJ, they get to recommend the song that they want. And if you can find the clean version, you play it for them and they just do their thing. But if you want something a little bit more structured, what we used to do a lot of was lots of YouTube dance videos. There's Danny Go, there's Kids Bop. And for my kids, they were around fifth, fourth grade. We really preferred Just Dance. And the reason why is they got the popular songs they liked and the popular cool dance moves that they liked. And they really just thought that they were playing the Just Dance game. So that was good for them. So that was a good one. Simon Says, the classic. It's the game where you tell people, Simon Says, touch your nose, touch your head, and you're trying to stump the kids and they're really listening. Because if you don't say Simon Says and you say, touch my knee, and they touch their knees, they're out. So kids are really paying attention and focusing. And something Brenda told me that I love was, Brenda, tell them what you told me. And I love this idea. I never tried it, but I want to try this.
And if you're trying to get your group back to being structured, instead of saying Simon says, you can say, Mrs. Hartman says, go back to your chair. Mrs. Hartman says, get out your book. Mrs. Hartman, just use your name instead of Simon says. And then you can also, like you said, if you don't say the Simon says and just give them an instruction, and then and it's a fun, but it could be a quiet way to get them back on task and structured again.
Refocused and unique to their classroom. And I
Yes.
really like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's a good way, by the way. I just thought about that. If kids are not listening or trying to pay attention to you, if you turn it into a game, they're always going to try because they want to win.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
Yes.
that competitiveness. So this is the example of Cosmic Kids that I was talking about. You have the YouTube option, which is free, but there is this, which is dedicated only to yoga for kids, if that's the route you want to go, or the route you want to go, I'm sorry. And it's videos by length, energy, category, and series. And you can see there's tons of options to explore.
Oh,
What was it?
storytelling. There are so many benefits of storytelling. It helps develop language skills, social skills, and listening skills. It also helps conveying and connecting ideas, emotions, and honest an experience with an audience. And again, Sarah, this can be for you for the shy child when they want to tell their story. This is a great way of doing it. Also, Robert McKee, his quote is it's spot on. Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world today. And I totally agree with that.
I do
The
too.
meaning of storytelling is in its name. It's your version of telling a story, whether it be from a book, from your life experience, whatever it is. You telling the story. And there's different ways to do this, but one way you can do it in your program that you do, you can place the children in pairs. One member gets to take the role of the story while the partner listens, and then they reverse it, and they get to do reverse roles. This is great because you can, with Easter coming up, they can do an Easter story, or do the song, the bunny story, or song, to act it out and tell the story in their version for the younger ones. Even the older ones like to do that kind of thing. Also, it's free. We talked about, needing easy resources, free, not a lot, costing a lot. Have props when they're doing their storytelling. Like you can do a character prop or a visual where the story takes place, or you can have some, like if it's Halloween or whatever, you can have some eerie music in your background playing. Also, I know when I taught, another great way to introduce this is you can have a guest speaker. See if there's a storyteller around your area that can come in and invite them in and teach the kids how to be storytellers.
I love that.
And if you can't, if limited resources are limited, there's this website, Super Easy Storytelling. It's a great website that offers it. It will teach the kids how to tell a story. There's videos on how to do it, and it gives them ideas. They the videos are of storytelling as well as ideas and activities for all age groups. And as you can see here, there's different activities along for storytelling that they can do for the kids at each group grade level.
Oh, great. And something else that we talked about the other day, and I really like this idea because something about an outsider coming into, well, not even an outsider, that's not really the word, but like a guest reader
Yes.
kind of thing, a guest storyteller. If you can't get one, we talked about that sometimes you could make it like a treat for some of the kids in your class or your group, right? Like if there's a kid who wants to read, you don't have to make them, of course, but if there's a kid
Yeah.
who wants to read, some kids eat that right up. And I want to be the storyteller this week. I want to be the storyteller. And it gets kids excited. And then eventually some of your shyer kids might even be like, I want to try that, or
Absolutely.
they can
Absolutely.
they can do a story at their level, their comfort. So yeah, I really like that idea of having a guest storyteller each, for the
Yes.
class as a whole too.
Yes,
Very
as in
good.
all of these activities we share, but storytelling is very powerful and so many benefits to all of these activities.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Journaling is another, we're talking about easy to implement activities. Journaling is a very easy to implement activity, which requires very little preparation on the adult's part, but a whole lot of benefits for the students, including self reflection, organized thoughts, and helps with memory and personal growth, which all of us could always use, right? But anyway, we can see that in this quote. Try journaling. It's a great way to help your child build emotional expression, communication skills, self awareness, and a healthy self esteem through the power of a blank page. So, for journaling, you work with what you got, right? Like it could be as simple as a notebook, it could be notebook paper, construction paper, printer paper. You bind it together, you staple it together, you use whatever you have. Um, I think it's really important to spend the first day letting the kids decorate it and make it their own, whether it's stickers, drawings, colors, whatever you have available in your organization. And just let the kids make it a personal and creative space unique to them that they enjoy visiting every day. You provide age appropriate prompts that encourage them to write about their feelings, imaginations, and experiences in their journals each day. Your older kids may want, we all know a lot of kids, especially older kids, dear diary after school. That was something really beneficial to go home, write in your diary after school every day. Some kids may not be encouraged to do that. Some kids may not know how to do that. So you could give them the time and, after school or encourage it to, I'm setting a timer, go, write what you want, write how you're feeling. But I think for your younger kids, you definitely want to give some prompts. And there's many prompts available online, but one resource I love is actionforhealthykids.org, and they give you information on how to get started, but they also give you different prompts for different age groups, and I have some samples here. Now mind you, your younger kids, let's say if your after school your classroom has kindergartners, first graders, they don't have to write, they can draw, they can just express themselves through illustrations on their page. But here are some examples for the elementary age children. What is your perfect day like? If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? Your middle schoolers, what do you do when you see a friend struggling? Make a list of kind actions you can take. And then for your high school, what is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self? Write about a time you did something you were afraid to try. So just lots of things that cause a lot of self-reflection, and it's really important for kids to do. In fact, it's probably important for adults to do. We should take some time, all of us doing it on our own as well.
Somebody wrote in that they're having a hard time keeping up with the notes, but this will be available on our website uh, once it's completed. So it's always going to be available. Don't be concerned if you can't keep up with all the note taking.
Absolutely. And after school headquarters will be emailing you a copy of the presentation and the whole presentation. So you will have everything. And that's why we have the links for the sources. We want to make it as convenient as possible for you to find the sources. And of course, these sources are just suggestions. You take the time to find any you want, but everything will be mailed to you guys for your convenience afterwards.
Yes. And with that being said, before we continue on, there are some ideas that we just wanted to give you that keep the kids independently engaged, but don't require a lot of preparation or of time of preparation, because we know how time is of the essence. And it's free and it's cheap. Nothing has to be expensive. Just use the resources that you have available. And before we go to the last activity, we feel that it's very important to have regular meetings, like monthly meetings, or if you can do by more than once a month, that'd be even better. But it's very important to discuss what activities you're doing in your organizations that worked, that didn't work, what the kids liked. Even share ideas, suggest different changes. What would you do differently the next time? And always, it's best to keep a record of this and in case someone new joins your organization, then you'll be up to date with your records and you can show them what you've been doing and what worked. It's all right there. So you don't have to go backtrack and try to find everything. You just have it right there at your fingertips. And it's also important to collaborate because everyone's on different campuses and you can connect, whether it's by Zoom or make it a fun evening. If, like I said, time is hard to get everyone together nowadays with extra activities or extra family time you don't want to take away from. You can do a Zoom, have a glass of wine. You can do it at a dinner, just make the time and make it fun and beneficial for what you guys want to do and need to do.
Absolutely. And so thank you for that. And also, now that you brought that up, Dr. Marion, I just want to say I was looking at the chat. Thank you all for some of the recommendations you're sharing with our colleagues for all of us to see. I saw some great links for the poetry. I saw some great links about recommendations about the clubs you have at your campuses. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Marion, so I can enjoy the chat as well and read that. Okay. All right. We are turning things over to you, Dr. Marion.
Okay, I have to apologize. I have the flu. You won't catch it. It doesn't go over. But I've been coughing and coughing and coughing, so I may have to stop for a second. But we're going to be going into the reading program I've designed. And I thought it would be, when I tell this to people, they're always shocked because people are unaware why literacy even went into the classroom about a couple of 100 years back. And the reason it did is because there was very similar to now, there's an enormous set of feelings against all the lower level immigrants that were despised around the country. And some clever people came up with the idea. They said, well, if we teach the kids to read the Bible, we'll civilize them and we can control their animal instincts. And that's exactly how it was written. They viewed the children as sort of wild animals that needed to be caged. And that's how literacy went in. And it was very tightly tied to getting the kids to learn the Bible. That has now changed. Very few people even were aware that that was the history. And we're looking at what we're doing really today is looking into the future. And our goal is to make reading central, interesting, and productive. And we can do it. Unfortunately, because of the way reading has been taught, post fourth grade reading, which switches to what are called expository texts. That's a text which give you information. The best model, for example, is an encyclopedia. You don't pick up an encyclopedia to read. You do it to get information, and it's very boring and very dense. And unfortunately, the texts we give to children after 4th grade are like that. Can I have the next slide, please? And so that is what we're trying to overcome. And the way we're trying to overcome it is in a program I've developed called Comprendi, that it's a new route to reading comprehension. And it starts with the recognition that storytelling is not only key to reading, but really something that's universal that everyone loves. But it's insufficient for competent literacy because storytelling has very little to do with expository or informational writing. So basically, and this is a fact of school life, the attainment of competent literacy rests primarily on boring expository texts, whether it's in math, whether it's in social studies, whether it's in science. It's the essence of higher level learning. And it's the kind of testing that the children experience when they get standardized tests, where the scores, as we know, are disastrous. And after COVID, they've become even more disastrous. So this conflict, which exists from basically 4th grade on through university level, pervades the curriculum. At the same time, it is given very little attention. It's sort of, well, this is the kind of reading you got to do in higher grades. That's where we disagree, and that's where Comprendi comes into the picture. Next slide. What we have done in Comprendi is present what we believe is a solution to this century-old problem. First, we use a form of text that I've created called narrex. It actually creates a narrative base that allows the person to better understand the expository information. So it's a blending of narrative and expository. Then we have one of the huge advantages we have now are AI graphics that are not only captivating, and that's very important for today's kids because they are so used to that, but what the AI graphics can do is provide the background knowledge essential to comprehension. It took a long time for people to recognize that background knowledge was important, and now everyone talks about it. But basically, when a student needs background knowledge, it's given to him in verbal form. So a child comes across a verbal term he doesn't understand, like let's say the government gave a mandate for whatever, and so they come across that, and in general, they'll be shunted to another part of the page which will explain the word. So they're already in verbal difficulty, and the solution to the verbal difficulty is to give them more verbal difficulty. That is a disaster. So what we have done is use AI graphics, plentiful AI graphics, not just an occasional picture here and there, but the graphics that actually depict in a very clear, simple form, the key ideas that are necessary for understanding the text. We got fabulous results in our first go around. There was nearly 10% improvement in just 8 weeks of using the program. The other, another basic feature is that they're true stories that also contribute to the essential knowledge base that the kids need. And true stories are just amazing because human beings are amazing. And we'll cover a little bit of those in a couple of minutes. Now, the material has been constructed to achieve key issues in reading comprehension, the main idea, vocabulary, spelling, and so on. I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. There is step-by-step guidance in the program, so it requires no teacher involvement, which is really important for so many reasons. It doesn't have to be justified. Teachers are overworked. It is extraordinarily hard to go among a group of 20 kids and adapt individual solutions and practices for each one. But the computer, if you design it right, or the computer program, can do all that for you. And so the program is designed that each student works at his or her own pace. And we have a free semester for anyone who is willing to try out the program. Okay, so let's see the program. This is one of the stories. There are going to be we've got a total, I think, of 18 now, but we're going up to 24. This one is a story about smallpox making a disease disappear, which is, of course, very relevant to today's COVID times. So what happens is the student will see a relevant picture, and the problem is an illness that one of the texts we'll be reading. We're not giving you the full story here. So the reader's been told that a big problem developed, and the next page says the problem is an illness that was found all over the world. It could appear anytime and anywhere. And so now when the children are on this kind of, having read it, they then click certain buttons and they get graphics that further illustrate what they've just read. So let's see the next slide. This is another story, a true story. This is about a boy who lived in a horrendously poor village in Africa, and it was being ruined by floods and droughts, and the water problems were enormous. And so he came up amazingly with a solution. You may have heard, because he's been on television here, he's been interviewed in many, many places. And so here he is at the start. And now we've very carefully selected the text so that it's about 4th grade level, so that, because that's when children start encountering the comprehension problems, but we can make the text harder. But we felt that it was most important to, at the very start, when they're encountering the difficulties, to help them overcome it. Okay, next slide. This is a story about women in medicine. And this particular woman was the first woman who graduated medical school. So again, you can see the graphics are just beautiful.
Mhm.
Okay, next one. Now, here's a story that I didn't know at all about, and it's fascinating. It's a story of a group of emus, big birds in Australia, who were being killed in droves, and they actually won the war with the army. So this is, so the text here, now the text here is very readable, but at the same time, it's easy to understand. Next slide. To learn more about Comprende, you can go to our site, dmllearninglab.com, and we're going to just give a few more examples now. Can you?
Yes, we're going to actually give a demonstration of the program. And like she said, while we have this up on the stage, this page, dmlearninglab.com is where you can contact us with any additional questions. And also if you're interested in the free semester. So I just want you guys to pay special attention to this link when you see it mailed to you guys in your inboxes later on. And here is the link. I'm going to double check with you all that you can see the link that I just opened. Can you?
No.
Okay, see, I'm glad I asked. Let's try that. Okay. Now,
Yes,
Yes.
now. Okay, so here's the story I mentioned before, Emus, the birds that won a war. And just as the title says, it's just intriguing. When could birds win a war? And one of the things you'll notice about the titles, which I think is very, very important, is they're designed to already convey what the story is about. It isn't like an encyclopedia where you'll see weather patterns or planetary travel or Mars or whatever. These are designed to really convey messages that helps the reader right from the outset see what's going to happen. And the child, as I said, controls the rate and presentation of the text. So this will be the first one of the first parts of the text that he sees. And he's being introduced to the emu bird. And then if you click it, can we click this? Yeah. When we click it, because the text referred to the comparison of the emu with the ostrich. And so they click that and they get the picture of what this is rather than just leaving it into the world of language.
I'd like to add before we move on, if a student is struggling with any word, they may click on the words anytime. And we're not sharing the audio right now, but they would be able to hear the words read to them that they cannot read. So
Yeah,
it's
this
really
is vital.
fabulous. Yeah.
It's vital because otherwise they just people have shown that if a child doesn't understand 10% of the words in a text, that's very low, they won't be able to comprehend it. So full understanding of all the words is really important if you're going to try it, if you're going to aim for comprehension. And so this is, here's the illustrations of this way, because we're discussing the sort of evolution of the flightless birds. And we're showing that, and then that we're showing that they went from having the ability to fly to not have to losing that ability. Now, after they each story is divided into 3 sessions. After they read the material for any session, they get a series of comprehension activities. And this one is aimed at the main idea, but very differently from the usual question of what's the main idea of that story. You can ask that question and all you're going to do is precipitate a huge amount of failure. So here they get part of the text and then they have to fill in, and they're working with much higher level language than they themselves would produce. But with supports, they're able to handle it, and that gets them into the world of higher level language. By the way, this is a total aside. If you want to get a sense of what your child can, or any student can handle, just make up a series, or take from good books, a series of 10 sentences and try and have them imitated. If they can't imitate the sentences within 1 or 2 trials, that material is too hard for them. And people, we have not paid enough. It's one of the things, it's a very simple test. It saves an enormous amount of time and money, and it yields phenomenal results. So next slide. This was one of, now here is our spelling test. So we keep all the main features of other writing, but we do it in a very different way. It has been shown that spelling lists are worthless. The only reason people continue to do it is that it's cheap and easy. But we've known for a long time that there's no transfer value from spelling, even if a kid gets 100 on the spelling test, to actually writing the same words in text. And so all our spelling goes into already well-constructed texts that we've produced, and the children only have to produce, we keep it down to 12 entries a screen. They only have to produce that so that the demands on them are not onerous, and at the same time, they're learning how to spell in context, and the transfer value of this is enormous. So we can design much more effective spelling training than we've been doing, and that's what we've tried to include here.
I'm just filling in, so you would see what a student would do as she was talking. I'm filling in the letters. This is what they would do, and it'll move on to the next one, highlight where they're at. And one of the great features of why she was talking about that it's so easy to implement and independent, you could see the question mark below. It will help students as needed. So relieve some of the work on the provider's part.
Yeah.
All right. So that was our short demonstration of the program.
There's an interesting comment that the kids are only learning through memorizing where the letters go. They can't memorize. This is the only time they see it. And so there's no chance to memorize it. But if you want to see how hard this is, have a friend make up this task and you do it. And you'll see it has nothing to do with easy memory. It has to do with really being able to cull your spelling skills and bring them to bear in the situation. So just make up a sample of this and try it out, and you'll get a sense of what the kids have to do.
Wonderful. speaking of that, that leaves us with 8 minutes. So thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And Marcus, we will turn it back to you to see if maybe there's any questions, if there's time for that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We can definitely dedicate some time to that. Well, one, I just want to thank you all sincerely as a collective team. That was beyond educational. Dr. Marion, pushing through the flu to be here with us speaks to your dedication about the next generation on a serious note. So thank you for that. Please make sure y'all take some time to go to dmlearninglabs.com, check out some of the resources. I was reflecting on my childhood listening to y'all, thinking about the poetry, the emu's nature. I remember all those visits and really the impact it had on me today and why I still love a lot of those things. And obviously all the great resources. So thank you all sincerely for your expertise. I want to let everybody know I will be dropping another link so you can actually schedule time to meet with the After School HQ team to chat a little bit more about how we can help you structure your data and be able to track that as well. But we want to really dedicate this time to questions. Again, you heard the expertise in real time throughout the conversation they had with us today. So again, I want to open up the floor. My ask would say something in the chat, and then from there I can call on you as well. Ms. Sicklin, I will be posting a link here momentarily. But again, any questions we have for these young ladies with us as well here today to answer any questions. All right, I see a link. Thank you for that, Anna. Well, I'll ask you all firsthand. I can get everybody started. What is one like tangible example, if y'all have maybe like a testimonial that you all have heard from maybe a client or perspective as well too? What has been just one testimonial that you all have received from leveraging the platform?
Well, I don't think that's difficult. I mean, one of the first groups we worked with was a group in New Zealand, and the kids, all of them, just talked about how excited they were about it. And when they got to the end, we want more stories. That kids who would normally, because many of these kids are not doing well in school, and the fact that you get a bunch of kids who were encountering difficulty and they love reading is just a huge testimonial. There's an interesting aside. I wouldn't push it, except I also do a lot of work with children with autism. But the children I work with, we have very good behavioral control. I won't go into that issue. It's a complicated one. But I have a number of children who can't speak. And they have autism. They've been called nonverbal, and they're doing the program beautifully. And so it's got enormous potential.
Something about the New Zealand kids, a testimonial we got, which I really appreciated. They were saying that they saw not only and actually this has happened a couple times. Some of the testimonials are actually featured on our website. I just remembered.
Yes.
They were saying that not only did they see an improvement in the kids' reading comprehension, but parents and teachers were reporting that they found an improvement in the kids' self-confidence and self-esteem.
Wow.
And they saw that they just overall were different in those ways and they had improved. And it's exciting because they came in for a reading program and they left with higher confidence and better self-esteem. So that's really exciting. That was something that one of
And I mean, I've worked for decades with kids who have reading problems, and those are devastating reading problems. And the tragedy is that it's accepted that 45% of our population is basically fully illiterate. 45%. But the actual number is much closer to 65%. 65% of kids in our country have reading problem. We would never tolerate that in driving. Could you imagine if people went around and said, yeah, well, I had my 60, I had my 3 accidents this year. We can go on. So preventing reading problems, which is what we're really aiming at. Of course, if a kid has a problem, we want to deal with it. But what we want to do is set up programs that actually prevent the failure. And the current failure that the nation is facing is just terrible. And I've spoken to many very successful men. Usually men have more difficulty than women, who some of them were heads of
blue. It is
some of
going
them were
around
the heads,
everywhere.
some of them were the heads of corporations, and they said they had been dyslexic all their life. And I said, how do you manage? And they said, we have great secretaries. So people, the mayor of New York can't read, and he's admitted it. So the interesting and really exciting idea is there's no the programs I've worked on mean, and I know it sounds extreme, but we can basically handle with relative ease and with low cost the reading problems in our nation. There is absolutely no reason for the kids to be experiencing the failure that they're experiencing.
And Marcus, as Sarah had said, on our website, we do have many testimonials. So if anyone wants to visit them to read them, they can also check out in the program there, get a sample of the program themselves from the website. So
yes,
the
the
website
full
will be great
example
for you.
sample, because we gave a shortened one today for the sake of this presentation, but you could get the full example of what a story looks like and check that out.
Mhm.
100%. Well, thank you all again for sharing. To you all's point as well, being you provide, I know COVID even pushed us back that much further, right? So we know now more than ever it's very imperative to be able to empower our youth, and we thank you all for being stewards of that sincerely. And again, I know there was a few times it was asked within the comments, will this be shared? Yes, we'll be sure to blast this out in the follow-ups. You can have all the information. You can have the information to connect with Dr. Marion's Learning Lab team as well too, to see how we can continue to build and grow together. So thank you all sincerely for your time once more. And thank you everybody out there for joining us. We appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on our next upcoming webinar. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Thank
too.
you. Thank you
Everyone,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And as you all exit out, please feel free to use that link to schedule some time again with myself and our team here at After School HQ to learn a little bit more about what we do and how we can be a resource to you. But again, thank you once more for joining us today. Hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon.